Hi, good evening, everyone, and a very warm welcome. So, this session is specially designed for women MBA aspirants. But if you are there, any of you men who are tuning in today, great. So, you will find these insights very valuable too, whether for yourself or to support other women in your life, your friends, your sisters, or colleagues as they prepare for their big interview. So let me tell you, and this is to all you women out there, a lot of what I share today will hold true not only for MBA interviews, but for any other important interviews or meetings in your life. If you ever have wondered why some candidates walk into the interview and instantly own the room, while others are struggling to make an impact, this session is for you. I'm Sujata Shirsagar, an MBA mentor and an IIM Bangalore alumna. And today I will be guiding you through something crucial yet often underestimated: the art of first impressions. The art of first impressions, body language, attire, and confidence building for MBA interviews. Now, I have to tell you a few things. Your confidence isn't just what you say, but how you present yourself, from the way you dress, the way you carry yourself. Every detail speaks, even before you utter a single word. So, tonight, here on, we are unlocking the secret to making a lasting first impression, because in a high stake MBA interview, looking the part is half the battle won. But that's just the beginning. We'll also dive into the body language, the voice modulation, avoiding common mistakes, and the ultimate confidence formula that will help you stand out. Well, beyond appearance, preparation is your biggest asset, and we'll discuss how thorough research about your B school, the industry, the profile can give you an unbeatable edge. And finally, we'll wrap it up with importance and the how of the mock interviews. How do you go about taking mock interviews? And finally, the do's and don'ts. So that's a lot that we're going to cover in the next 40 minutes. And I do hope you stand in here, you're sitting in here, and you're watching me, whether now or sometime later. I hope you enjoy and pick up some valuable insights from the next 30-35 minutes that I'm going to take you through some of the things I said. Before I dive in any further, let me ask you this. Have you ever walked into a room and immediately formed an opinion about someone just by their appearance or posture or the way they speak? If yes, congratulations. You're just like the interviewers, because they judge you even before you say a word. Let me start here with a small story. Imagine two equally qualified candidates walk into an MBA interview. One of them, let's call her Ananya. Now she walks in with a very confident posture, dressed in a sharp navy blue blazer, minimal accessories, and neatly tied hair. She shakes hand very firmly, maintains warm eye contact, and speaks with clarity. Let's imagine the other candidate. Let's call her Megha. She's wearing a very ill-fitted blazer, slightly crumpled shirt, and keeps adjusting her hair. She looks down often, very fidgety with her pen, and has a very limp or weak handshake. Who do you think left a stronger impression? The answer all of you know, so I'm not going to say it. Now, this is what we'll focus on today: how to be Ananya and not Megha. So while I kick off this now, I'm going to use a presentation so that you can see as also hear me. Just give me a moment. Okay. So let's move on and see what we will cover. Just give me a minute. Okay. So we are going to cover all that is written on this slide. So firstly, starting with why grooming matters. It's more than just looking good. It's about professional presence. Secondly, We'll talk about first impressions and the nonverbal communication. So, the silent signals that you send make a big difference. Thirdly, dressing for success, how the attire influences perception. Then, next comes body language and etiquette, what to do, what you should avoid. We move on next to power of voice and speech, how your tone conveys confidence or the lack of it. We will touch upon the confidence formula. Yes, I will give you a silver bullet, or in my language, a Jira Goli, on how you carry yourself with that confidence and elan. We will talk about handling common mistakes. While it's good to talk about what to do, it's good to know what most people end up doing, while some of us would have definitely done some of these common mistakes. And then we move on to the entire prep before it. So while you carry yourself well, speak well, communicate well, all this is on one side. If you don't have that knowledge and information, some of this could just go flat. So we'll talk about the research and preparation. We'll talk about mock interviews, the importance and how do you go about doing the mock interviews or taking the mock interviews. And finally, the interview do's and don'ts. If we move on now, let's start with, we can move the slide. Let's start with the foundation. And that foundation is grooming and confidence. Does it matter? Of course it does. So the next 20-25 minutes, I'm going to take you through how and why of grooming and confidence. Now, grooming matters. This is something very simple, yet very powerful. Why does grooming matter so much in an interview? The truth is, before you even speak, you've already made an impression or not made that impression. So, first impressions are lasting and they are very hard to change later. Studies show that people form impression within the first 7 seconds. So, you can, in your own head, call it the 7-second rule. So, if that first impression isn't great, you will take a lot or it's a lot of effort to undo it. And in an MBA interview, remember, you don't get a second chance. So what is the 7-second rule? 7-second rule is about people forming impression or opinion almost instantly. Now that's how long it takes for someone to form an impression about you, even in an MBA interview. So you can make or break the entire conversation, which may follow or may not follow, in 7 seconds. So before you even introduce yourself, the panel has already sized you up, your posture, your attire, your handshake, the eye contact, the way you speak, the tone, the modulation in your voice. Are you exuding confidence or you just seem very unsure? Are you polished, professional, or do you look like you've just woken up and walked in, or you've walked in very unprepared? So think of it in this way. If your first impression is the movie trailer, would the panel be intrigued enough to watch the entire film, which is the interview? So let's make sure your trailer is compelling, confident, and sets the tone for the interview ahead, sets the right tone. Grooming impacts perceived competence and professionalism. So research shows that well-groomed individuals are perceived. It's all perception, because in those 20 minutes and 30 minutes, the interviewer is only perceiving. It's just the perception. They don't know you. So well-groomed individuals are perceived as more competent and reliable. And it's an HBR, a Harvard Business Review study. It found that people who dress professionally are seen as more capable than those who don't, even if their skills are the same. So everything remaining constant, you're better off being dressed and groomed well. Grooming is just not about looking good. It's about signaling to the interviewer that you take this very seriously. Example, imagine you're hiring someone for a leadership role. Would you choose that person who looks polished and has everything put together, or someone who looks very shabby and who didn't take that effort to even groom herself? Last but not the least, why grooming matters? It's because your confidence comes from being prepared, polished, and poised. Grooming directly impacts confidence. If you don't trust me, just go try it. So when you look good, you automatically feel good. And when you feel good, you walk into the room with confidence. So think about a time when you really dressed well, maybe for a big event or an important meeting. And how did you feel? You can just, for a moment, take a moment and think about that day. That is the energy you want to bring into the MBA interview. So the goal in an interview, be it your MBA interview or any other interview, is not to impress, but to feel empowered from within. And that empowerment, that confidence will come from within if your exterior is good. And by the way you present yourself. So, grooming is not vanity, it is strategy. And welcome, ladies, to strategizing how you should look, how you should speak, what you should say, the tone, etc. And it's one of the easiest way to set yourself apart in a highly competitive landscape and with so many people taking the same interview that you would be. So let's move forward and talk about the non-verbal communication. If we talk about the non-verbal communication, and that's the truth, your body speaks before your mouth does. 55% of the communication is body language. About 38% is tone, and only 7% is actual words. Now, if you turn around and tell me, "Hey Sujata, is it okay to dress up well, speak well, but have very silly words?" The answer is no, because remember, the last mile is as important as the first 99 miles, and these are 7% focus on words. And we'll also come to how do you manage that part of your interview well. So remember, however, that body language or non-verbal communication matters. A weak handshake, fidgeting, twiddling your fingers, doing up your hair, or moving your pen, or a poor eye contact. If the interviewer is speaking with you, instead of looking her or him straight up in the eye, you're like answering with your head bowed down, or looking up, looking there, closing your eyes. All these are clear takeaways or taking you away from the interview. So all these can also signal nervousness or weakness. Now, a warm, confident posture and a steady tone, that's instant credibility. How do you make bad first impressions before I move on to good? Slouching, staring at the floor, staring at the ceiling, thinking, hemming, hawing, mumbling. All these are bad first impressions. What are good first impressions? You walk in upright, smiling, greeting confidently, and before even you've answered the first question or they have asked it, you've already given your first answer through your presence. Now, that brings me from nonverbal communication to what should you wear? Isn't this the question all of us are asking all the time? And believing that if I wear good clothes, everything else is sorted. So far I've covered what else apart from clothes. But not to take away, dressing smartly is a killer attitude. It will give you confidence and you can kill the interview. So, what should you wear? Let's break it down. I'm assuming men are not watching this, but if men are watching it, you contact me separately and I can tell you what to wear. But for women, if you're wearing Western, and I know many of you go and, make those business suits or get those stitched, definitely do it. But you can also carry a very nice Indian outfit. You can carry saris. If you're wearing saris, solid colors, simple saris, no heavy embroidery. Simple salwar kurta is also a good idea to wear. If you're wearing Western, wear a smart blazer, trouser. Of course, you wear a nice crisp iron shirt. You can wear a knee length formal dress, but all of this in neutral colors. Now, one of the things that we often overlook is the jewelry and the makeup. You have to put on some light makeup. Your face has to be radiant. Do not just wake up, wash your face, dry skin. No. So use a nice moisturizer, use a nice compact, use a nice eyeliner, a little bit of red touch on your cheek. Very light, neutral, minimal makeup and minimal jewelry. No wearing those big jhumkas or those loops. Wear nice pearl, something simple. So minimal jewelry, neutral makeup, closed toe shoes or professional sandals. Do not go in chappals. If you're wearing a nice professional chappal, now unless I see it, I can't tell you whether it's professional or not, it's okay. But try and wear closed toe shoes, It'll also protect your toes. If your toes are not kempt well, then you're safer wearing closed shoes. These are the things you need to be mindful of, apart from wearing the right kind of clothes. And yes, let me tell you, ladies, wearing a salwar kameez is absolutely okay. You can wear it with or without a dupatta. Wearing a sari is great. Wearing a nice blazer or a full suit, Western outfit is okay. A knee length or longer dress is okay. Just ensure it's not garish. Yeah. What are the common mistakes one makes despite all of this being in place? Too much perfume, casual shoes, loud prints, flashy accessories. So your outfit should say, hey, I'm here, take me seriously. And it should not come across as you're frivolous and definitely not shabby or loud. Let's move on and look at, we've covered what to wear, but your body language is just as important. So let's look at how do you master the body language and the etiquettes that go with it. If not more, 55% we said of the communication is nonverbal, meaning your posture, gestures, expressions, all of these matter even before you open your mouth and say something. So if two people enter the room, who do you think will leave a stronger impression? The one with immaculate body language and other etiquettes that go with it. As you enter the room, what's the first thing you do? Eye contact, a very nice smile, and a very firm handshake. These are again things which are undermined or we don't give a lot of importance to. So you walk in with confidence, keep your back straight, shoulder relaxed, head held high as you walk in. Avoid rushing in or running in or tiptoeing in. So walk at a very steady and controlled pace. So a study at Princeton found that people make judgments about confidence and leadership within a millisecond of seeing someone just walk in. So before you even sit down, you're already being evaluated. And I can go on and on with such data points. What else matters? The handshake, because that's the first connection. Offer a very firm handshake, but don't crush their hand, okay? So make an eye contact and smile while shaking hands. Don't put your eyes on where the hands are being shaken. Avoid a very weak or a limp handshake. So Sheryl Sandberg, former CEO of Meta, once said that she can gauge a candidate's confidence just by their handshake. And a limp handshake often signals uncertainty. I find myself doing this very often, and while I try not to judge, I can't help but form an impression in those first few seconds. And I would have done this to every interview candidate of mine. And I often do this when I meet people just to gauge their nature. So, this is what most interviewers do. If they don't, you go offer an handshake with them. And now you don't have to judge them if their handshake is limp. Second is sit in with an open and engaged posture. What do I mean? Sit in with both your feet flat on the ground. Don't put one leg over the other. Keep your hands visible, either resting on your lap or even better, somewhere on the table. So you can use it when required. Otherwise, if you have, tied up your hands, it will restrict you and you come across as very stiff if you are crossing your arms. It looks very defensive. Now, research from Harvard obviously has shown that people who adopt an open posture are perceived as more competent and confident. Now, all these are studies, and a lot of people, including the interviewers, are reading these studies and also forming their opinions or judgment. The third and the most important element here is the eye contact. So, your eyes are a secret connection. So, make very natural, consistent contact with the panel. Do not end up just addressing one panelist. If there are three, as you're answering, you should ensure you're equally looking at all of them. So, make that very consistently. Do not stare, blink naturally, and shift eye contact between the interviewers. If you are nervous, try looking at the bridge of their nose instead of looking directly in their eyes. This is a trick I have done a couple of times because some interviewers can make you really nervous. So then you look at the bridge here in between their eyes. So Indra Nui, all of you would have heard about her, the former CEO of PepsiCo. She is known for her strong presence, and one of her secrets is maintaining that eye contact while speaking. It builds trust, and that you believe in what you're saying. So it builds a lot of conviction. Then comes the hand gestures. Use them very wisely. Use very natural movements to emphasize key points. Avoid fidgeting, excessive movement. So you don't want to move your hands all across like this, or playing with the pen or hair. So most women have this, they play with their hair. They'll start tying their hair, untying it, very unconsciously, subconsciously, but it is a very hyperactivity they do. If in doubt, keep the hands resting on the table or on your lap. Yeah. Now, a TED Talk study found that best speakers use twice as many hand gestures as an average one. It makes your speech more engaged and memorable. There are some don'ts of the body language. Do not cross your arms or your legs too tightly. Don't fidget your hair. Don't look at the floor or the ceiling or shut your eyes while talking. Don't lean too far back or too much in front. Yeah. So, final thought on this body language, etiquette, all of these. Your body language should say, hey, I'm prepared, I'm capable, I'm excited to be here. And if you look confident, you will feel confident. Just think of Shah Rukh Khan in an interview. He maintains very strong eye contact, a warm smile, a open posture. Now, that's what I call a powerful body language. So your words will often tell them what you know. Your body language tells them whether they should believe what you say or not. So make both work in your favor. Even before you speak, your body has to tell your story, and it will tell your story. Let's move on to how to accentuate this further with the power of voice and speech. Do you ever notice how news anchors sound authoritative? It's the voice control. So you very few tricks here. Avoid filters. Yeah, like, so, I know. Avoid all those fillers. Speak slowly and very clearly. Don't rush. No blah 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 blah. People won't even be able to, forget understanding what you're saying. They won't even be listening. Modulate your tone. So avoid sounding monotone. Since birth, I have been in this city. It's almost like a bee buzzing. So you have to modulate. You have to bring excitement in your voice, in your face. And one trick, pause very strategically. Now, this makes you sound composed and thoughtful. Oftentimes, we feel if someone asks a question, I have to jump and respond. Now, don't get into a slumber. So, if someone asks you, tell me about yourself, it's okay not to just hop on and jump. Just think, pause a little. It's okay to take pauses between the sentences. And one of the things, don't do what you shouldn't do. And I've seen this happen. One of the candidates I was interviewing entered the interview room with chewing gum because he or she was tensed, and the interview was over before it started. So avoid some of these silly or things which you feel are very in and fashionable. Don't do them. Yeah. Let's look at quickly the confidence formula. Okay. So I will move on to how do you what is that formula or silver bullet for confidence? And I have put very three simple points. Before I go on to these, I just want to leave you with a message. Confidence isn't arrogance, it is self assurance. And the first part of confidence is grooming. It enhances self image and authority. What is it? Grooming equals self belief. If you look good, you feel good. As simple as that. Second, preparation definitely reduces anxiety, and you must take mocks. But what is preparation? Preparation equals confidence. More practice equals less nervousness. So, mock interviews help. Lastly, calmness equals credibility. So, you should speak with ease and own the room. And cheerfulness adds warmth. A smile goes a long way. So if you use these three or four nuggets or jeera golis, your confidence will go up multifold or hundredfold. So think of Virat Kohli walking into a press conference. He knows he is prepared. He looks sharp. He speaks with conviction. That's confidence. What does a nervous candidate do? Speaks too fast, sounds very unsure. So, a calm candidate, which you can be, will pause between sentences, sounds deliberate and in control. Remember, the way you say something is more important or as important as what you say. So, confidence is an outcome of all the three things that you see on the slide. So, all the best with this formula. Let me quickly move on to handling common mistakes. We've covered essentials of grooming, body language, confidence. Let's talk about the mistakes that ruin your interview very quietly. What are these mistakes? Now, some of these will seem too small, but I have listed out the mistakes for you. The first mistake is poor grooming or overdressing. We can move the slides. So, the first mistake is poor grooming or overdressing. Think of an MBA interview as a corporate boardroom. Now, you want to look very polished, not like you're attending a wedding or casual day out. Now, if you have to do it, what do you have to do? What is the solution? You have to dress appropriately, elegantly, neatly, with well fitted and minimal accessories to look sharp without being distracting. What is the second mistake you can do? The second mistake you can do is a weak handshake, no eye contact. So, a weak handshake typically signals nervousness or lack of confidence, while a crushing handshake can come off as aggressive. So, you have to be very careful in terms of what handshake you do. So, you know, one of the things, and I will quote Kiran, I will speak about Kiran Majumdar Shaw here, the founder of Biocon. She started out in a male dominated industry. She knew that her presence alone had to command respect. So she always ensured that she maintained this firm and direct eye contact and gave a very firm handshake. So a small action that built her credibility instantly. So, what is the solution in all this? Your handshake should be firm but not overpowering. Look straight into the interviewer's eyes while speaking, but do not stare aggressively. And if you're nervous, practice all of this with a friend. Yeah. Mistake number three is rambling or over rehearsed answers. Now, I know when you prepare for interviews, you write it down, you mug up. Of course, you should do it, but there's a thin line between sounding prepared and sounding robotic. So, one of the interviews I have taken, and I've seen this candidate deliver a script or an answer in a very perfect monotone voice. The panel could tell that he had memorized the answer, and it made him seem very artificial and inauthentic. Another candidate, however, rambled and went off topic, losing the interviewer's interest. So, in short, you have to prepare but speak very naturally. So either तो आप अमिताभ बच्चन की तरह इतना मग्गा मारो, इतना practice करो कि no one knows that you have, you're delivering a rehearsed speech, or then you just write down notes, which is a STAR method: situation, task, action, result. ऐसे करके structure करो. You write down the topic so you know what to speak, and you deliver it as a very natural kind of answer or a response to a question. And definitely pause in between sentences to sound thoughtful instead of sounding rushed. Mistake number four: underconfidence or overconfidence. So while confidence is key, too little or too much both can hurt you. A candidate once said, I think I have no weaknesses. तो क्या होता है? Do you think anyone can have no weaknesses? The panel immediately assumed या तो this person is overconfident and obnoxious or lacked self-awareness. On the other hand, another candidate kept apologizing, second-guessing herself, making her seem very unsure of her own ability. In all this, the trick is in being balanced. Confidence is not arrogance. You have to stay humble. At the same time, stay very self assured. Own your achievements, but do not exaggerate. So, if you don't know an answer, admit it. It's okay. Say it very gracefully. Last, in this, be polished, poised, and natural. MBA interviews are not just about how you present yourself. If you avoid some of these mistakes, you are already ahead of most of the candidates that are interviewing along with you. The last part in this, confidence and grooming, let me take you through the impact of grooming on perceived confidence. Just give me a moment. Yeah. So let's talk about something crucial, how grooming directly impacts the way people perceive your competence. Whether we like it or not, people judge a book by its cover. We all go and watch a movie if the trailer is good. So your appearance, attire, grooming, they all send non-verbal signals about your personality and credibility. But before you even say a word, because your appearance has happened before you opened your mouth. Yeah. Now, there are three parts to this entire grooming and impact it creates on the perceived competence, your competence, which is perceived by the interviewer. The first is the looking part phenomenon. So imagine two people walking into an MBA interview room. Candidate A dressed very neatly, shoes tip top, candidate B wrinkled shirt. Even before hearing them speak, who do you think the interviewer will take more seriously? And often I've heard people say, "Hey, I'm very casual. This is who I am. Let them, deal with me the way they want." They will not even get started with you. So be very aware. Do not take the interviews casually. Harvard study, of course, has found this out that well groomed people are perceived as more competent and confident. And grooming just doesn't influence how you feel about yourself, it influences on how others see you. If you want to be taken seriously, you have to look that part. Second part in this I want to share with you is the recruiter's perspective. Every time we are looking at all of this as me, I, what do I undergo, how much do I know? But why grooming matters? Put yourself in the recruiter's shoe and see how it matters. You have 10 candidates to interview, you're the recruiter. Each of them have aced it. All of them are 99.9 percentile in CAT or have similar accolades as you. So how do you filter them out? You start looking at other cues as a recruiter or as an interviewer. You start looking at professionalism, communication, presence, and yes, grooming. Um, and this is, I'm quoting this, I read it somewhere. A Fortune 500 hiring manager once said, if someone can't take care of their own appearance, how the hell will they handle the details of a business deal? So, this is why many interviewers, many recruiters associate grooming, good grooming, with attention to detail and discipline. So, the way you present yourself tells the interviewer whether you pay attention to detail, and that's the skill or one of the skills they want in future managers. The last is the executive presence factor. So, one of the most overlooked aspects of grooming is its role in executive presence. The term may sound very fancy, but it simply means you carry yourself as a leader or you don't. So Indra Nooyi, the former CEO of PepsiCo, I keep referring to her, one of the women I admire. She once shared how early in her career, she ensured she always looked well put together, not for vanity, but because she knew that commanded respect. And in male dominated boardrooms, it matters. It isn't about whether you look glamorous. It isn't about looking glamorous at all. It is about looking that part that you're playing, the role you're playing. Yeah. So your attire and grooming should always align with the position you aspire to hold, not just the one you currently hold. What does grooming communicate to the panel? Let's break it out into simple terms. It communicates professionalism first. You take yourself seriously, so others do too. Second is confidence. You're prepared, polished, and poised. Third is attention to detail. You care about small things and that reflects in your work. And fourth, respect for the interview panel. Dressing well shows that you value their time and effort. On the flip side, poor grooming sends exactly the opposite signal: lack of preparation, carelessness, or even a casual attitude towards the opportunity. So there are a lot of impact or effect of grooming. And always ask yourself, if someone saw me for just 5 seconds, what is the impression they get? And this is what I would like to call, or psychologists call something, what they refer to this is the halo effect. So if you looked polished, confident, people naturally assume you're also intelligent, competent, and capable. The best part, you have a full control over how you look. And grooming or looking is not about fashion, it's about strategically presenting yourself in the best possible way so you're taken seriously and given opportunities you deserve. So before you go to your interview, take a moment, look at yourself in the mirror, and ask yourself, does my appearance project the confidence and competence I want to convey? If the answer is yes, you are already one step ahead. And finally, there are some tips for confidence boosting. You can move the slide. One is power dressing, and I often tell power dressing equals power mindset. Okay, we can move 2 slides behind. Yeah. So these are the final confidence boosting tips. Power dressing equals power mindset. The way you dress affects the way you think, feel, act. And studies show that when you dress professionally, you perform better, you think sharper, and you feel more powerful. Serena Williams, all of you would have heard of her. Did you know she wears a special power suit before big matches? Because that helps us step into the strongest self. So whether it's a blazer, a well-fitted dress, or even a favorite watch, find that piece, and that will make you unstoppable. Second is rehearse but stay authentic. Practice is very important, but don't over rehearse to the point where you sound very that monotonous, very robotic, and the interview feels like a performance. It doesn't feel like a conversation. Yeah. The third is walk in with a smile and positive energy. Before even you speak, your energy sets the tone. Walking in with a smile, that confident stride tells the interviewer, hey, I'm happy to be here and I'm excited for this opportunity. Yeah. And the last but not the least, own that space. You deserve to be there. Many of us, I have felt this at times, feel the imposter syndrome, the thought that we are not good enough. But here's the truth: you're in the room because you earned it. So now that you're in the room, own it. And here I would like to talk about Oprah Winfrey and what she once said, that for years, Oprah Winfrey herself thought she wasn't good enough to be in powerful rooms. But one day she told herself, I belong here as anyone else. And that shift in mindset changed everything for her. And I'm sure she inspired a lot of people. So, in a nutshell, confidence isn't about having zero nerves. It's about managing. All of us get nervous. It's about managing. It's about showing up as your best self. The interviewers are not looking for perfection, mind you. They're looking for someone who believes in themselves. And finally, just walk into that room with confidence, own the space, and trust that you belong there because you do belong there. Yeah. And looking the part is the first step. Let's move on to now, looking, feeling is not everything. Yeah. So let's move on to what else is required for you to ace the interview. We can move the slide. So, research and preparation is one of the most important elements as you get into the interview room. Yeah, give me a minute. So, success in an interview starts long before you step into the room. Think of it like preparing for an exam. You won't walk in without studying, right? The more you know about the B school, the interview format, how you position yourself, All this, the more you know, the more confident and composed you will be. So let's break this down, research and preparation, into three key areas of preparation. One is knowing the B school. So imagine walking into the interview and panel asks you, "Hey, why do you want to join our institution?" If your answer is generic, they will know you haven't done your homework. So let's take an example. Picture two candidates. One says, "I want to join because it's a top rank school." The other says, "Hey, your B school focus is on entrepreneurship, aligns with my dream of launching a startup, and I was particularly inspired by your alumna, Falguni Nair, who built Nika after her MBA." Who do you think will stand out? Who do you think will stand out? Yeah. So, what are the tips for researching? You do a website deep dive, look at the school mission, faculty, special programs. You look at the alumni and the event, read about successful alumni, especially female leaders if relevant, and how they leverage their MBA. Third, faculty and curriculum. If a professor's work excites you, mention it. That shows genuine interest. And last but not the least, placement and salaries. Yeah, so these are the things you need to do for knowing the B school. The second key element is understanding the common interview questions. Now remember, each B school has its own way. So most interviewers are not trying to trip you up. They just want to see how you think, how you communicate, do you get rattled, what's your confidence level, how do you handle the unknown, and how do you fit into their B school culture. So a classic question is, "Tell me about yourself." And instead of using a life history about yourself, use a very structured approach like, "Present, this is where I am. These are things which have happened in my past. This is where I want to go." And hence, how MBA fits into your career vision. So I often tell people, you have to talk about what you're doing now, your relevant past experiences, achievements, learnings, what is your future goal, and how MBA fits in. So I'll give you some examples. You can say something like, "Currently I lead a marketing team at a fintech startup where I scaled using user acquisition. I scaled that entire practice by 40%. Previously I worked in an investment bank which gave me strong financial acumen. Now I want to blend my finance and marketing through an MBA." So you can answer it in that manner. Third is tailoring response to showcase skill. Now, every answer you give is a chance to highlight your strength. Your goal is to tell a compelling story that connects your skill with what the B school values. Often I have my mentees ask me, "Can I use the same answer everywhere?" Well, 50%, 60% you can use can be similar everywhere, but each institution is different. So at least anywhere between 20 to 30 to 40%, you should tailor the same story to suit that B school. So if they ask you, "Tell me about a time that you took an initiative," you don't say, "I'm usually proactive." Instead, you will tell a story. You could say something like, "At my company, I noticed female employees not getting leadership roles in projects. I started a mentorship initiative and paired junior women with senior mentors, increasing female participation. And this increased by 30%. So you can go on and give some data points, give some numbers, but give specific. So you have to tie up your answer to leadership, teamwork, problem solving, how you drive impact. You have to use numbers and always end your answers with future relevance. How will this skill help in B school or beyond? So this is how you usually go ahead and research and prepare for interview. So think of preparation as a secret weapon. The more effort you put in now, the more efforts you will appear on that big day. You will appear more effortless. So effort now will make you effortless then. Let's move on to looking at the commonly asked interview questions and how to tackle them with confidence. Now, the key is not just answering, the key is standing out. How are you different? Why should they take you? So, tell me about yourself, elevator pitch. How do you answer it? You do the past, present, future format. Example, I lead digital marketing. That answer we just did it some time back. You have to answer your present, past experience, connect it with the future, and why MBA is your next step. And it cannot be something which stands alone and very isolated. What are the mistakes to avoid? Rambling or giving your full life story for 20 minutes. You keep it to yourself. To the interview panel, you keep your story interesting, crisp, structured, and impactful. Why MBA is again a often asked question. Show purpose and passion. They want to understand your motivation and your career vision, not why you want a degree. So, how will you answer? You show that MBA is just a thing which is going to help you achieve your life goal. It is presently filling in a skill or a gap to achieve your long term goals. So you have to weave that story. And secondly, you also have to mention specific aspects of the program in that B school which attracts you. Another often asked question is, what are your strengths and weaknesses? Frame this very positively. What do they want to understand here? They want to see self awareness and a growth mindset. So, strengths pick up something relevant to a B school. Example, leadership, problem solving. In weakness, you have to state your weakness, say how it impacted you, but definitely talk about how you're working to improve it. Example of a strength can be, I thrive in a high pressure situation. When we lost a key client last year, I led a strategy pivot that helped recover 80% of the revenue. Now make this very realistic and tell only the truth. Example of a weakness, if you have work can be, I used to hesitate in delegating tasks, but after managing a team, I have learned that empowering others leads to better outcome. What is a mistake to avoid? That I have no weakness. Then, of course, they could ask you questions like, what are your achievements? They could ask you, describe a real challenge. And there are ways to navigate through some of these. Now, one question that you should not miss answering. Is there any question for us? Don't say, no, sir. No, that's all. I don't have anything. They really want to see if you're interested in their program. So, you have to ask a question. Some of the good questions to ask here is, what qualities make students thrive at your B school? Can you share an alum story that really reflects on your school's value? How does the school support those who are interested in entrepreneurship and social impact? Now, some of these are questions you can ask. What you definitely must not do is, I have no questions. Bad answer. Yeah. Now, let's look at, before we wrap up, interview do's and don'ts. You know how to answer the questions. Let's talk about some golden rules, or what I call interview etiquettes, what you should do and what you should not do. So what you should do, or best practice, you have to research B school. We went through this just a little while back. If you get interviewer details, check their LinkedIn also. It helps personalize response. There are times I have gone for client meetings, I've gone and watched their YouTube videos. You have to get into their psyche, and it's worth it, believe you me. Of course, if you don't know the interviewer's name, you can't do all of this. Definitely prepare 2 or 3 strong personal stories. Real stories will make you stand out. Think of moments where you showed resilience, leadership, problem solving skills. These are life skills. This is what you need after your MBA. This is what you need during your MBA. And this is what they want to see, whether you have little of it or more of it. You have to maintain professional yet natural energy. You can't be thakawa, you can't be tired, you can't be, very stiff or stern. At the same time, you can't be loose and you can't be all over the place. So be engaging, not overly scripted, smile, make an eye contact, and use confident body language. Yeah, show enthusiasm, show curiosity. Passion is memorable. Show that you're excited about that opportunity. Ask very thoughtful follow ups when an interview shares something. Suppose an interviewer shares her story with you, his story with you. Ask a very nice, thoughtful follow up question, or a follow up remark you should make. Yeah. Example, when the interviewer describes a new program, say they tell you about a new program at that B school, you have to say, hey, that's fascinating. I'd love to hear how students have leveraged it. Now, what are the common mistakes? Don't interrupt the interviewer. Let them finish their question. You don't have to show eagerness. Hey, I understood your question. It shows respect, good listening skills. Do not overshare or go off topics. Be very concise. It is, you don't have to go and vomit all that you know. If you start over explaining, you might lose their attention and you might give them something to ask you which will put you in trouble. Do not give one word answer. If they ask why MBA, don't say for career growth and then stare at them. Yeah, that's a missed opportunity. Expand with examples and personal touch. Last but not the least, do not fake confidence. Be authentic. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be prepared and genuine. If you don't know something, it's okay. You just say, that's an interesting question. I'd love to learn more about it. On date, I don't know much about it. Finally, I would like to tell you confidence is built on preparation. The best interviews feel like conversation and not an interrogation. So, do your homework, practice your answers, and show up as the best version of yourself. That is how you leave a lasting impression. Um, Finally, interview isn't about proving you're qualified. Because remember, when you're entering that room, everyone is equally or some are more qualified. It's about proving you belong. It is about telling them, this is your room. You have it in you. Yeah. So if you take one thing from today's session, I would like you to take first impressions matter, but preparation and confidence seal the deal. And confidence is not just about what you say, but how you carry yourself. So you have to walk in with the mindset that you belong to that MBA program. If you believe in it yourself, interviewers will believe in it. And before we wrap up, let me leave you with one final thought, that interview is not about just answering question. It's about owning your story, exuding confidence, and making them remember you. When you walk out of that interview, you have to ask yourself, did I give them a reason to want me in that program? And when you answer it, you will know you were engaging and authentic, you showcased your strengths, and you definitely did ask thoughtful questions. So if you do these things, you're not just another candidate, you're a future leader they want in your class. And thank you for tuning in. I just want you to, I've put my scan of LinkedIn. So if this session was helpful, do connect with me and feel free to ask me anything on the LinkedIn chat. Send me a message. Your journey doesn't end here, it is just getting started. So, wishing you all the best for your MBA interviews and any other interview or meetings. So, go just ace the interview. You've got this, ladies. Have a nice evening and have a nice life. All the best.